What's going on, everybody? It's Frito here for ClickHeads with huge news to report. Massive game-breaking glitches, new modes and updates, future content, a new agent has been found, and balance changes. So much to talk about. First, Riot Morello did another stream yesterday, and as the character designer for the game, always has a lot to say about future changes. At the moment, Viper is considered basically the worst agent in the game. Morello says that they are looking to buff her very soon. He explains here that they're looking on a way to make her wall placeable in a lot more locations, and we think this will help Viper's viability. And also say that there's potentially more buffs in the works for Jett if the reliability buffs aren't enough, saying they're looking to avoid making dashes super frequent or like an attack tool. Earlier today, I made a tier list video that surprised many of you. I already rate Jett really high, and I think there's a bit of a groupthink about her viability right now, where because she's difficult, players are rating her a lot lower than she actually is. Her smokes are now very powerful, and the rest of her kit was already good, so I think she's just great now. If she gets buffed past that point, to compensate with the community's low view of her, she may be broken before long. I think we need to pump the brakes, because I think it's just going to take some time for players to learn how Jett fundamentally transforms the game with the positions she can play. But Morello did go on to talk more about Viper on his stream, explaining that they're only looking to buff the wall itself for now, and likely will keep the one-way smokes that she currently has, as in when you throw the cloud smoke in such a way where it lands on top of something, creating a one-way where you can see the enemy's feet and they can't see you. Until she kind of becomes too powerful, then maybe they'll look to rein those in. So for now, the only buff is so that the wall can land on more locations. What would that mean exactly? Perhaps he's talking about how the wall kind of falls awkwardly when you're trying to do it across the map sometimes, where if you don't do it perfectly, it'll land with big gaps in it, making it not very good. So perhaps a change to the physics of how it falls, or maybe even kind of breaking the map a little bit and allowing it to penetrate some things so it falls more easily. Not sure on this one. Leave us your thoughts in the comment section down below. That Viper buff, I would assume, likely comes with the next patch. More on the balance of the game, Morello admits that they undervalued the power of stall capabilities of agents like Brimstone and Sage's healing, and those are two things that they're taking a look at. They like Brimstone as a burst site execute agent, but perhaps we'll see a change to his ability to easily chain smokes on defense to clog a lane. And seeing as, at least for me anyway, the Sage nerfs weren't really enough to drop her from S tier status, there may be even more Sage nerfs coming down the line, either to her stall or her healing. Morello answered many other questions in his live stream. We'll get into breaking down that later, but first I want to get to some other pressing news subjects. Some stellar work done by player IGN on YouTube, who you should check out, linked in the description. He often makes videos about data mined information that often leaks upcoming content. Here he thinks he stumbled onto agent number 12, who already has some in-game clues. First, this player card of a mech robot seemed to be interesting. What could this be? There are two voice lines similar to the likes of the previous leaks of the agents Jett and Cypher, seemingly making reference to the little robot guy, commenting that the pilot of this mech would likely be short, and identifying the role of the character to be an engineer, which means we might expect that these other images could be Agent 12, Bombshell, or Killjoy's turrets, or perhaps a mech buddy. This thing's got legs, so I can almost see this thing crawling around and attacking enemies. On top of the little drone or turret friend, player IGN also found this spinning blade, another deployable drone type thing. We'll see how this develops. Some of the vampiric clues that came out prior to Reyna's release were pretty spot on, so perhaps these indications of a mech engineer are as well. On the subject of new agents, Morello also commented on alternate agent ideas on his live stream in regards to ways to, for example, nullify the effect of a Molotov like you can in CS.
We're back in there. I have considered an anti-utility skill or an anti-utility agent, but it would be longer down. And it wouldn't be something specific like erasing Molotovs like CS. I think people want that because of CS. We will eventually break having only CS expectations.
I think this response from Morello does a good job to tell us the direction Riot wants to go. As time goes on, their goal is to create more unique gameplay elements that is specific to Valorant and moving away from CSGO whenever possible. For CSGO veterans like myself, I miss the flexibility and depth of the likes of a flashbang, but you can see why with this philosophy that elements elements like that are very Valorant specific in this game, rather than straight up copy pasting the physics of a flashbang in Counter-Strike. Next story is absolutely massive, a bug that Riot's got to fix. Omen has wall hacks. This is found on Reddit by Smogan Toboggan. You can see here as he enters the ether plane, in order to lay down his smokes accurately, he is able to find enemy agents and get a spot on them when he likely shouldn't. For those of you that don't know, Riot uses a fog of war mechanic that is supposed to stop wall hacks from ever working normally, but apparently this dark cover is able to break those rules. Being able to quickly spam between the two visions, you are able to get spots on enemy players. This is massively broken. Next up on the news, Valorant is quote, definitely being prototyped for consoles, the developers told GameSpot yesterday, which is something that I think we as the community should be hopeful they look towards, even if we are only PC players ourselves, because it broadens the appeal of the game, making it stronger overall. However, I wouldn't bet on this becoming a thing. It's just something that they're seriously considering and admitting to right now. It comes down to staying true to the, quote, strong level of competitive integrity that they shoot for with Valorant, and they say, quote, if we feel like we can deliver this experience on those platforms, as in consoles, we absolutely will, but we really want Valorant to stand for a certain type of gameplay and a certain type of experience. This means Riot won't compromise in order to make that happen, which I think is a good thing all around. And I can tell you, speaking from Overwatch experience, the game being on console really helps its longevity and how many players can get interested into it. If you want to see Riot continue to support this game as much as we all want them to, having it being available in some form to the most amount of players, assuming it doesn't break competitive integrity anywhere, is a win-win-win. Next up, I also want to mention that on the Riot blog announcing the Spike Rush game mode, they did make a very important comment about deathmatch, and they say that it is indeed coming in order to be able to warm up your aim against live targets, but also more exciting to me is that they're prototyping many other modes, explaining that they're going to bias towards putting new modes into the community's hands as fast as possible and evolving those modes along with the players, as in they're going to be a bit of a work in progress and are going to take some feedback and iteration in order to reach their actualized form in the way that the diffused format more or less already has. They asked, what kind of modes do you want to see in Valorant? I have said in previous videos reviewing Spike Rush, which I think needs some fixes in its own right to really become a hype mode, but I like Gun Game. That's an easy one to just copy paste, but Valorant specific modes? This might be blasphemy to say, but is it possible to see a respawn game mode of any description in this game? As in not just deathmatch, but I don't know, you look at a map like Ascent, it looks like it can play domination to me, or capture the flag, or anything. I don't know. Just throw it at the wall and see what sticks. I think the gameplay of Valorant is so crisp and the abilities are so cool that it would be pretty cool to find other ways to play outside of the bomb plant diffuse archetype with the economy system and everything else. But what do you think? Let us know in the comment section down below. Last up for the video are a few other tidbits from Morello's stream that I found quite interesting. He does announce that the battle pass problems are getting worked on, although there's no ETA on when those will be fixed. We actually didn't know that it was as broken as it was until we made our video speaking about the best ways to unlock everything, where a lot of you told us that the missions or the battle pass or more wasn't working properly, and that's something that they're looking to address as soon as they can. Morello talks about the ban philosophy in that they are going to be more draconian than they ever have been before with bans, and I assume he means this because of how pervasive cheating can be in this type of game. So he commits to going hard with hardware bans against cheaters, but also for player behavior as well, with stiffer punishments than are in other communities. And these last two comments are actually really huge to us. Tagging in this game is really strong. It's the effect you get when your movement is slowed and in this game basically instantly halted as soon as you get shot by anything. Morello reveals that this may be tuned back a bit.
We may continue to tune tagging, which is what happens when you shoot and get slow. Don't expect much though. We want to make it feel a little less shitty, or maybe tune a couple of situations, like maybe low caliber weapons tag a little less, or wall banging tags a little less. But tagging being punitive is core to the game. That won't change. This isn't going to be an action game where you can kind of 80-80 and run around a ton in the middle of combat.
And this next one is an issue that's core to my heart, talking about power creep as they continue to add agents over time. Do the old ones become irrelevant? Morello says this.
So yeah, for power creep, yeah, we think by giving agents a specific identity and a specific thing that they're the best at, let's save, we can make it sure that when we make new agents, we don't want them to be as good at that thing as they are. So for example, Brimstone should be the best burst execute smoker in the game, I think. Like, regardless of how many characters we make. Now, other characters should be good at other things on different versions. Like, Omen can make more smokes over a longer period of time from a longer range, but he can't burst as many. These kinds of things can help keep power creep under control, because then we're trying to actually make the characters stand on their own 2 feet. That isn't just about power.
Which again is another clue to how they're going to develop the game over time. Now, what identity each agent is going to have might be a bit more tricky to pin down, especially with a character like Sage, where in one breath they say we want to keep her healing strong, but end of the day it is so strong that perhaps they're going to have to change her identity again and emphasize more the slowing or clog aspects of her kit so that she doesn't have the best of both worlds in a playstyle no one else can emulate. We'll have to see how that develops over time. We covered a lot of things in today's video, so let me know your thoughts on them in the comment section down below. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out, lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and be sure to hit the bell icon to actually get notified when our videos go live. You can head over to our Twitter page to interact with us on there. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for ClickHeads. We'll see you guys next time.